Oh yeah. The words, what the heck?
Oh, that's in a case. That's nice. I like those notes.
All right. Welcome to this week's What the Heck. We got a full house. We have Ising, Robbie, Kyle, and Forrestine. And yes, Frederick, that is a very empty rack.
For long.
Not for, yeah, right. And my wallet is full for 2 seconds. Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about today. Let's do super fast intros. Question is, who are you and how much time have you spent on Modular Grid? Let's start with in order of video frames. So Ising, you're up.
Yeah, I'm Ising. I live in Norway. I do modular grid more than I do my modular at the moment.
Hi, I'm Robbie. I try to spend actually a very small amount of time on modular grid. I tend to do it for a little bit of module research, a little bit of sizing, but actual layout you got to do it in person.
Got it.
I'm Kyle. I work in signal science in Glasgow. I've spent so many hours adding links to products in modular grid, but not that long doing layout. I agree with Robbie. It's easier just
to move panels
put them
around.
in. Yeah, exactly.
I'm Forrestine. I'm in Canada. It's very cold, and I use modular grid for like showing people stuff more than I use it for planning my rack. Like, I'll use it to see if stuff fits, I guess. But meat hands are very important.
Well,
Move stuff around with your meat hands.
Yeah, but I mean, I use it a lot for like planning potential cases or trying to figure out if there's something smart that can replace something that I'm unhappy with.
Mm-hmm.
I have like 15 sort of future plans for this racks going on right now.
Right, copy of copy.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of both, right? Like, I spend a lot of time on it when I'm planning, and actually with Cosmo, I made my own sort of version of it to plan my modules before I built the cases. Once the cases are like built and I've built all the modules and I've been playing with it a long time, then I fully agree that it's easier just to like move panels around and optimize it. But I do use it. I've been using modular grid fairly heavily to plan out this Eurorack case that's empty behind me. Because it's
sense.
cheaper than like, yeah, I'm trying to get a feel for size of things and like
It's
where
useful for that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I think it makes really a lot of sense, especially before I have the modules. Once modules are in hand, it's just some iteration and moving things around a little bit.
It's also incredibly satisfying to make a plan where it just fits exactly to your HP, right?
Yeah, like it's synthesizer solitaire. Like I often do that without actually planning on making a rack.
Yeah.
I don't know about fitting exact HP unless Instruments decides to come out with like a 1.5 HP module blank. My rack is actually like 157.5 HP wide.
No.
Yeah.
Tim just posted it. Kyle did. There's a dot for 1.5 one.
There is, okay.
Yep. Yes, there is. There's
Okay,
also,
good.
That constant lab thing. They're like adjustable blanks. It's like
Right,
from
yeah.
12
Yeah.
to 24. I think that would still be full HP. Like,
Mm.
I think
Yeah,
that'd
and
be
I'm not
half.
even worried about it too much. Like on the Cosmo, there's like a good over like a almost like a 3/5 inch or 2/5 inch gap on each side of the panels on a few of mine, and you can't really see it. So I'm not super worried about going to edge. I'll just sort of center things. Ish. How many? Smooster asked me how many Eurorack modules do I have now. 6. No, 8. I almost forgot the cats. Nope, 9. I have the blank. Not the blank. The no pass filter. It's not a blank. There is an electrical component, just not attached to anything. Yeah, so I have that many 9. But I just ordered a bunch. And by a bunch, I mean like 3, which is I think a lot to order at once.
What are the 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ordered. Back in the day, Alex Barnett was like, "Hey, you should look into Error Instruments," and I was like, "It's not Cosmo. I don't give a heck." But now that I've built a Eurorack case, I'm like, "Oh, these are really very cool." So you saw me eyeing the shoot, what is it even called?
The tapey boy thing.
Yeah, the Loopman is one of them. It's sort of like a Walkman glued to a Eurorack panel, and it's not really a tape delay. It's just sort of a tape player / FM radio, and I very much look forward to the FM radio bit too for over-the-air snare. Like the white noise channels, that kind of stuff. And I got with it, I also got the Lucifer module, which is sort of like a oscillator gnarly thing. I don't know how long I'll hold on to it, but like I felt obligated to get that. And there is a drum called Slappy that I'm really excited about, partially because it has a little clock divider sequencer in it.
Is it called Slappy or is it called Spanky?
Spanky.
I think.
It's Spanky.
Okay.
It's actually Spanky is what I ordered. Slappy. Yeah, so the theme of it is that I'm probably going to be stocking up on the drum module side of things first. And I probably would have ordered more drum stuff, but there's a couple things hindering me. One is the Metron is actually sold out at W&D right now, which I'm in no rush to get, so I'll probably get that next. And the other one was like a drum mixer or something. I don't remember.
Hey, so let me ask you a question about that, because I know you have the Arturia Drum Brute Impact, and I know you also have
Yeah.
you're getting Spanky, which has its own clock dividers built in.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Metron is overkill for trigger sequencing, and what can you use it on?
Yes is the answer to the first question. But I very much like a lot of drum patterns, as you've seen, and I'm trying to deprecate the need for my pyramid here, at least when I'm traveling and things like that.
Right, and then you wouldn't have a drum brute if you were traveling.
Correct. I could just grab that case by itself and maybe one other case and be like set, more than I need. And so that's sort of the direction I've been going with it. The Metron will be sequencing a lot of different drums. Like the Spanky's got a limited sequencer, right? Like it's more when I'm doing a little more chaos stuff because there's not a reset on it, or like a start-stop, which is sort of a big deal. But if I've got some like mutes or like a nice mixer or things like that, I can definitely use it for like snares, fills, that kind of stuff. No sweat or more interesting generated sequences and stuff like that. Are you really just still? You're not.
Your video doesn't.
I think you were just
frozen.
sitting still.
It was,
Just very still.
I think it was just for me on the stream thing, but not on YouTube. It's really odd.
Oh. Huh.
It's fixed now, so all good.
Cool. Yeah. Technology hates me today. When we were getting set up, I had a power strip explode and the lights all went out.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing, to my credit, it's the only thing I've had explode in this room.
In this room.
I was like, oh yeah, I've blown up some things outside in the garage.
That leads me actually to a good question. That might be a good discussion topic. Have you ever destroyed a module or anything?
I've destroyed
Anything?
things.
Right. In the something that resembles this, right?
Yes.
Have you ever destroyed something kind of like this?
I mean, destroyed isn't quite the right word. I fried a couple modules, but they were modules I built.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, so the oscillators, I actually did this twice because I'm an idiot. These oscillators, these Cosmo oscillators have actually two 10-pin box header connectors on the back, both keyed. One is for power. The other one is for like some future module that Sam Battle from Look Mom No Computer was planning to build and never did. Anyway, if you plug it into the wrong one, you will fry one of two pieces. And I've done that twice, so
I did the exact same thing. I had a quantizer module, and it had the shrouded power header, but then it had another set of pins that were identical in layout. They were identical in layout, and I wasn't paying attention, and I just plugged it in, and it instantly started smoking. And I was like, "Well, there's that cap blown," and like I probably fried that IC, and who knows?
I mean, that's thankfully. I think I fried the. Oh, jeez, I can't even remember. The op amp. I fried an op amp essentially on both of them, and that was trivial for me because I built it. I could see where the magic smoke came from. Pop it out, pop it in, plug it in the right way, and it worked. That was the end of it. So that's why like destroyed isn't really the right word. I just like fried a part of it that I swapped out. And then another one that I did some damage to was the MIDI to CV because I had wired up the MIDI cable. The MIDI DIN connector wrong.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And that made some resistors very unhappy. So I swapped those out. And then it worked great. So yeah, that's about it. That's I think all that I've. Oh, and this phone. That phone there has been dropped enough times where that decorative masking tape is actually just holding it together.
Load bearing masking tape.
Yeah. That's the closest I've come to destroying things. Yeah.
Anybody else have any war stories to share?
I've been really lucky. I haven't blown anything up yet, but I don't do much DIY either, so yeah.
It's coming.
I mean, once you do, like, it's not as scary when you do blow things up because you're like, well, I have extras of those components. Actually, that's a pro tip. If you're getting into DIY, never order one of the thing that is required. Order at least a handful. Yeah, doesn't matter what the part is, unless it's like one of those $20 or $30 ICs, and maybe get an extra one. I don't know. Yeah, so modular grid. I kind of wanted to get your opinions on stuff on modular grid, unless you want to chat about other things in the meantime. I've got a good page up somewhere. Did I close it?
Oh, you got a rack to show us?
Yeah, I do. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, do that.
Let's criticize.
Yeah, let's like that's what I want. I want maximum criticism.
I'm really one of the things I'm really fortunate with my layout because I have these short cables that like 90% of my rack is connected with I don't know, is that 10 centimeters? I don't know how long these are, but they're relatively short
They're like
cables.
the 12-inch cables, right? I have a bunch of those that are this long. They're
Maybe that's
perfect
what
for
that is.
everything.
I don't know how long this is, but it's a short cable,
It's the medium boy.
and this is 90% of every patch cable in my rack, and I couldn't be happier. I love that.
Oops.
Oh my God, it's so
There we go.
okay.
There we
Whoa.
go.
Look at that.
Okay, I got a full
Um,
screen to see this.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Yes, that.
I've as a joke named it Tiny Cosmo, and that is stuck in my head, so I've just been
That's
calling it Tiny
perfect, yes.
Cosmo.
I'll have to embiggen it.
Very
Perfectly,
embiggen.
perfectly cromulent word.
Could you post a link to this
Yeah,
in the chat?
yeah, I'm
Please?
gonna drop the link in the chat.
Because I like to mouse over and see what things are.
Yeah. It's coming.
Yes,
Hold on,
yes.
hold on. Here we go.
Yep. Yep.
It looks pretty cool.
So
Is that a
special.
Paratech guy? The
Is that a
beam
what?
meter?
Oh,
Also,
it's the Retro Mechanical Labs. I
because
don't
you
even
should
remember.
also
Fuzz.
look
It's a
up.
custom fuzz.
You should look up Paratech as well. Seems like your
Parrot.
thing
Paratech.
with a K.
Iraq. Cool. I will. Yeah, I see. Cool. I will check that out. Yeah. So there's some questions I have. Like these are the highest on my list, but not necessarily things I'm going to go out and just buy all of. So I'd be happy to whittle some things down because I feel like I have a few extra drum modules that I probably need, a few extra oscillators that I probably don't need.
So
that
maybe
kind of
maybe
thing.
talk us through it and say
Yeah.
Yeah.
what point us to your oscillators first, I guess.
Yeah. Well, like also like what is this like? You're like we were. I was having a conversation with Robbie the other day about designing your rack like as an instrument. Like, what are you doing with this besides hex
Okay.
stuff?
Yeah, are you doing
Uh,
Robbie patches or are you doing Forestine patches?
doing Hex 7 patches. Probably closer to Robbie patches. I don't know.
So like envelopes and sequencing and things like that.
Envelopes, obviously, like big on sequencing. I got the Metron and the Erica black sequencer in there.
And a performance mixer, that's fancy. Look at you.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm trying to replace that pyramid functionality a bit. I don't know if I will outright replace it, but this seems like it can do pretty much what I want. Like this drum sequencer makes me happy because it's closer to like the sort of Arturia drum sequencers or things like that with a few performance features. And this sequencer, I don't know, might make me happy. I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
So wait,
Yeah.
for LFOs, do you just have the Oct?
No, well, sort of. I've got the Oct and the chord in here, but I'm definitely low on LFOs. Like I don't have any LFOs that are flexible or clockable.
I will say that the black sequencer has each channel has a mod output, and if
that's
you're
good.
not in addition to the gate output, you could either use it as an envelope built in, or it can be an LFO, and it actually is a pretty sophisticated capability. So it can be clocked, it can be not clocked, it can be big, it can be small, it
Oh,
can be
that's
all
pretty
kinds of
cool.
shapes.
Like
That's
I would
cool.
recommend some kind of LFO that you can patch because you can make some really cool like rhythmic modulation that way.
Yeah, and I agree with you. So on my list of things that I'm definitely low on, LFOs and envelopes are things that
Why don't
I
you get
quite
stages?
like. And I've
Stages
got
is all of that.
Yeah, that's a good shape.
what was that?
Mutable instrument stages.
Or a
It's
Stages.
LFOs, it's envelopes.
It doesn't come in black.
I have a panel for it.
Yeah, but
One
it's
of the
mutable
black-
instruments, so folks will make a black version,
Yeah.
a black panel or
Yeah.
something. Like that's fine. And I also have spray paint if
Spray
we're getting
paint.
drastic.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I managed to get a black replacement panel for it.
Yeah, so
Very
I'm
nice,
I'm
okay.
not too worried about that. And not all of this has to be black. It just makes me happy when it is. Like the Castor and Pollux
No,
actually
it
isn't.
has to be black.
It's like a deep purplish color. It's nice.
It sounds better in black, right?
Everything sounds. I
Purple
don't
things
know.
sound better. That's
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And I did get the black tape cassette version. There's a pink and a blue one, and both look really nice. But the reason I got black is because I plan to make the tape particularly
tape.
cool looking. Yeah, so I wanted
Yeah.
that to stand out. That's
So
the
let me ask you
designer
this:
in me.
you
Yeah,
got, I see a crater, I see a kraken, I see
yeah,
a Lucifer, and there's a Spanky, and a Basiliscus Terratas altar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of percussion going, and
Yeah.
Rample, which you use for drum
More
samples,
percussion.
anyways.
It's percussion,
That's
yeah,
a
percussion, and then a Casper
yeah.
and Pollux, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
This is so percussion is the thing that I would like to explore the most. I'm obviously the most excited about. I don't know that I need all of this. Like, if I need snare sounds or hi-hat sounds like the Spanky and even the tape cassette, right? Like, just put it on a noise channel and use it's got a built-in LPG or something, so you can use it as drums. Like, those can handle that. The BIA can do some fun stuff. Like, I feel like there's some
BIA
redundancy
can.
here that could be removed. The
BIA
Lucifer, I'm
doesn't.
not clear on yet. Like, that may be in the oscillator section. I'm not sure if it's drum or oscillator or both, so we'll see. But I've sort of got drums over here with some like drum related things and like clock dividers and things sort of handy. And sort of oscillators, some filters here, and then some, well, filters here-ish, and then effects
Wait.
over
When
here.
you say oscillators, what all I
Okay.
see is Casper and Pollux.
Okay,
Where are
there's
the other ones?
CV, and
Oh
there's
yeah,
also
so we have the
Erica
VCO2
baseline,
by
right? Or
Erica
no,
Synths,
you
which
don't
is
have
one of
that.
their tube oscillators, which gets pretty funky,
Okay.
and then the Erica Synths baseline that I still
Oh,
need to
I love
build.
that.
But that
Yeah.
one I kind of like because it's sort of an all-in-one sort of deal. Like, it's almost like a
It's a
full voice,
it's
right?
a really Hex 70 module. That's the baseline PCB and panel from Nelson that we
Like,
also
does it
sold.
even need an envelope or?
It has
Yeah, it
an
just takes a
envelope
gate.
and it has a filter.
It has an envelope, and the filter has the envelope by default. One of the knob in the middle on the
Mhm.
bottom controls how long the envelope goes to the filter.
Yeah.
Right,
So it's like
this.
instant
Yeah.
acid machine if you crank up
Yeah,
the
it's
resonance.
Right, and that's what
totally
I was
for you.
guessing because like yeah, this should do a fair amount of my bass heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And
Um,
it's awesome because it's a really noisy polyvox kind of filter. So
Yeah.
it's really
It's very
wild,
messy.
very wild.
so I really like this. I like the VCO2 because it is an analog oscillator, and I wanted at least one of those. It's a fairly beefy sounding one with all the things that I like for the most part.
Plus, it's got a tube.
You know, PWM, etc., and a detune, yeah. And then Castor and Pollux is a really just incredible digital oscillator. So
Yeah,
pair
you
of
did a great
digital
job with
oscillators. So I think that covers me for the most part.
Yeah. I kind of feel like you're missing some utilities and some random
Yeah.
sources.
Yeah. Yeah, like I feel like you could throw a diode chaos in there.
I don't
Like
a diode
that
chaos.
that is like a random that's like not so roller coastery. It's very handy.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that is something I'm looking at, like to fill some gaps. Like I would like this sort of space in here. To think of it as like more sequencing, so maybe a quantizer plus some random voltage sources, things like that are less me anyway right now. I do have some utilities in here, like
Math.
not maths,
Math.
but like
Math is also an oscillator if you want.
yeah, I don't like it as an oscillator though. I like it as other
Oh.
things. And honestly, it's been out of my case for a while, so I'm gonna have to knock some dust off of that. I don't actually know if I need this 3x VCA. Like, it was recommended to me, but I'm not sure what I would even use it for at this point. It is kind of handy and compact, but the mixer over here has baked in VCAs.
Oh, it has VCAs.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that's
Um,
even necessary.
yeah.
Trying to think. I guess you could use it for attenuation because
Right.
I know BIA doesn't have attenuverters. So
Yeah.
but where are you going to be taking CV from? If the answer is black sequencer, well then you can just
Then
dial
you
in
don't
the
need it.
yeah,
But
just
you
dial
have
it in.
the Oct, which basically needs an
Ah.
attenuator.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, the Oct does.
Oct needs attenuation
Yeah. And
because it
that's
swings from -5 to +5, and that's all there is to it.
yeah, and that's why I'm hesitant about that. I do think oops, don't like flipping right now.
You can do that in there?
Yeah.
Yep.
I do it all the time
What
on
the hell?
accident. Yeah.
What?
Sometimes I'll flip a module if I think it's better the other way, but in this case, no. um, yeah, like this thing seems really useful. I think Benjamin pointed this out, the transitions, which is maybe redundant with maths because you can essentially sort of find sweet spots by outputting static voltages, that kind of thing, and
What
controlling
does
them
that
all at
do?
the same time.
Transitions
It's got
is
a bunch of
cool.
outs and a bunch of voltage CV outs, and a CV in, single CV in. But once I've connected all of these, right? Like let's say I've connected them to 5 different modules or something, I can control all of them with one slider,
Neat.
which is kind of cool. So you can get some wild stuff out of that. So I think that could be pretty fun. But yeah, I want to delete some stuff so I can make room and get suggestions for new stuff. So let me check the chat too. Pharmacy. Okay. Later, Schmeister.
Schmeister has to go to the pharmacy. That's all there is.
Like, I feel like I probably don't need this gigantic distortion. I actually don't use distortion very often.
I mean, I'm being converted to the Church of FX Aid. It's
FX8.
really handy.
Yeah.
And that one's
It takes so
digital, if I
little
remember
space.
right.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So this one may end up going. I like the Versio
Well, like,
series, so I just get one of them and
I
swap the
feel
firmware.
like your oscillators and stuff are all nasty enough to not require any distortion. It just depends
I
on
will
Yeah.
say, I want to bring up one thing, and I kind of hate it because I'm playing into my own stereotype, but
Yeah.
I do notice one type of module that seems to be lacking in this rack.
I
Is
have
it a filter?
several filters. One,
Show me
two,
the
three.
filters. Three filter. Okay, 100 grit. Does that count?
That's a
Yeah.
filter.
It's sort of
Is
a
it?
filter. Like
Yeah,
I'm not
it
sure.
says, yeah.
I don't. I need to watch some demos on 100 grit. But
Okay.
there was also a on my back, like I have like a different modular grid rack with all my potential modules, and there's another filter on there. I think of a chaos one, or maybe it's a chaos or Vlob or something like that.
Oh, Zlob SBF is a great filter.
It's a pretty
all the
thin,
Zlob stuff.
gnarly filter. I think based on Polyvox filter. So I agree with you. I could use more filter space, and if I get rid of this, that's room for more filters.
I tend to use a noisy filter instead of distortion.
Right, exactly, and that's what
The
I do
SVF
too.
also, there's like options when you're building it to make it extra nasty and unstable. It's quite good.
Ooh, cool. I'll have to look at that. So if you have any filter recommendations, let's add them. Let's go.
SVF. SVF.
FVF.
S.
S.
Sierra.
S. SVF.
SV.
Sierra Victor Indigo.
We'll get there.
There you go.
This guy.
It's that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that Schwab stuff is so cool, and when they have LEDs, they're the most beautiful LEDs I've ever seen.
Yeah,
That's
they're really
great.
cool.
Oh yeah, there's no LEDs. That's
Also
kind of
very
the sad thing.
a
but that's
lot of
okay.
DIY support, like an unnecessary amount of support from Zlob. They're very lovely.
Yeah, I mean, I've added multiple modules of theirs and removed them as as needed. They also have a really nice oscillator I was eyeing. So yeah, filters. I agree with you, Robbie. I could use more filters. I think I could use like one sort of snarey.
So many snares.
And a
You
rample.
gotta have a marching band.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rample's cool because if you did Rample and Metron, you could do whatever. You could do all kinds of crazy sample triggering,
Yep.
and that's valid. But you could also you have all these other modules that let you shape the sound even more,
and that's why I like these
it.
modules better. Because I can shape the sound. The Rample, lackluster in my opinion for sound shaping. Like it does the thing, it's just sort of clunky.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of samples in a nutshell. They sound awesome, but then you can't do a lot as much with it.
Yeah. and Lucifer may go. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. For me, also, it's very difficult to plan an entire rack because by the time you
Yeah.
get some of this stuff, you're gonna be doing different things. Like, or you're gonna
Yeah,
change your mind, or
I like having rough ideas of what I want. Like this is a rough plan, right? Like plans just are made to change. This gives me an idea of what to get next, right? Like I have an idea for percussion. Okay, so I probably should get like the percussion sequencer or a mixer or something, just so I can tidily, convene sound
Oh.
sources. I actually kind of liked the drum Ericsson's drum mixer because it has some nice like sort of muting options ish.
Ed Random
Ooh.
suggests Steve's MS-22 filter.
Oh yeah, somebody was selling that, and I had a hard time not buying it right away. MS-22. Yep, this one. Let's just add that because it's nice and compact. And you know what? That rules. So hard. Yeah, that's probably gonna be bought soon.
He bought.
Yeah, because ideally what I would like is like a lead voice or, a couple of voices to operate, as melodies, a bass line, and then a lot of percussion. That's typically what I do with my main stuff anyway, so it's 24 dB. Oh, Ruina Versio. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about the Versio flashing yet. I'm gonna have to try that. I'm not sure. Is it USB flashing or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Easy peasy. Hey, woke. All right, yeah. I don't know what else to talk about here, unless there's like modules you hate or you think I should get rid of or think I should add to get me out of my wheelhouse. I'm cool with that. I'm
Get
not
you
buying
out of
them,
your
just,
wheelhouse? You
give me
could add
an
some
uncomfortable
weird
territory.
thing. Put some weird in there. Weirder.
Yeah.
What could be weirder than error instruments though?
Yeah, and I've also got the Soft Pop 2 coming, and probably I'll
nice.
somebody in New York is gonna make some of the adapter panels, so I'll probably, before I even get any of these sequencers, have that
You're gonna have a
mounted
soft
here
pop
as a
in there?
sequencer.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
At least temporarily, if I like it as a sequencer, I'll keep it. But
But you could also use the other soft pop things.
yes,
That, couldn't?
yes,
Yeah, so
yeah,
then you would have like whatever that has in it.
Yeah.
The other soft pop doesn't go in the rack, I don't think. I'll have to check. Maybe there's an adapter, but I think that's actually 9 volts. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's batteries.
Yeah.
It might be cool to add some kind of CV-able reverby thing that you can make weird clangs with.
Well, there's Desmodus.
Yeah,
that's
Can you make clangy clangs?
Maybe.
you can if you can do a lot of. I'm amazed at how many different sounds you can get out of that reverb.
Yeah, this thing's pretty boss.
It's the best reverb ever. I love that thing.
And I like that it's compact and it's a Versio, so you can swap out the firmware, which again I really like. So I think that was
I had a chance to try the Electus Versio, which is essentially they call it the auto wah from hell, which basically means it has an envelope follower, so it follows the amplitude of the envelope of the amplitude of the audio going through it, and from that it extracts the level, and that's what controls the cutoff of a filter. And there's a chorus and there's a distortion. So it's insane, and it's instant. You fall in love with it instantly.
What about like some kind of weird chorus, or
there's some
other effect that isn't distortion. Or
there's a really nice, I think a phaser module that Dreadbox makes that I've been eyeing.
I love my Dreadbox pedal a lot. Like the phaser. So the module's probably great. It's cool.
And
get one.
get one.
Bad influence.
Brought to you by Carl's Jr. That was a old joke.
You might need,
yeah.
You might need some kind of delay or something, right? You don't have a delay.
There's no delay.
Yeah, so that's one thing I was thinking about a little bit.
just get an FX8 and just use whatever's in there.
FX. Yep.
Yeah.
FX8.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Why don't I just because I can get a bunch of effects out of that. I can figure out
It
what
has
I actually
a
use,
shitload
and then
of effects, and you
yeah,
can load your
optimize.
own into it, or they have a
Yeah.
web app. And
Let's just add that now. FX. Don't make me type. Oh jeez. Okay, fine.
AID.
Yeah. But is there a space? Is there no space? Why is there an XL versus a regular size? Opinions?
I have,
That's
I have the XL one. It's more CV control.
cool.
Yeah.
Effects section, nice. Like the whole modular is an effects section, right? But you know what I'm saying. Data bender will probably be over here. I don't know. That might live in my other case though. We'll see. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with where. Other than again, I want some envelopes. I really like I mess with my envelopes, particularly for filters and even the VCA. Like I just love envelopes for my lead voice. So probably find some.
Do you want some kind of clock Oh no, wait, you have Fractio Solum. I was asking if you had a clock divider. That's
Yeah.
kind of like a clock divider.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is a clock divider, and I think. Well, I would obviously start with one. I think it could be fun to pipe like the clock, like have this as the master clock into here, so I could clock divide the drums really quickly, that kind of thing.
Is Metron 8 channels?
It's 16.
16. Okay, you don't
Yeah.
need a clock divider.
That's true. That's
You're
true.
never going to need 16 programmed drum outputs.
Okay.
You can just use the Metron as a clock divider.
Okay,
That's
just
true.
yeah,
Good. Really good
yeah.
point.
That's a good point. Yeah, let's toss
16.
one.
That's crazy. So many.
I don't think it's 16 easily though. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's in groups of 4, but there's
yeah,
Right,
four
okay.
groups of 4, which
and you
is
go through the banks.
yeah. But yeah, you're right. You just program channels 13, 14, 15, and 16 to be divide by 2, divide by 8,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yep, that's smart. Very smart. You're right. I don't need a clock divider there.
Sample and hold is missing from the rack.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have any sample and hold envelope following or anything like that. I mean, there's some envelope followers built into some of these modules, but yeah, sample and hold. Hit me up.
I mean, I really like the div kid. What's it called?
Random step.
Yeah, R&D step. Yeah.
The Zlob entropy and expander also would give you random and several kinds of noise and a random gate and a slew. It's pretty great. It's only 6 HP for both of them. Also.
Is this the one you were talking about, Robbie? The random step?
Yes, R&D step is cool because it has a
6.
it has a unipolar and a bipolar output. Now the unipolar is always bound to random, but the bipolar, it's by default it's normal to the randomness inside, but it also can take a sample input. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
There's more suggestions in the chat.
And what were the Zlob suggestions? The entropy something?
The entropy and the expander.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I'm just going to search up entropy. Who has time to scroll? So entropy 2 plus the entropy expander, or just like OG entropy?
It is the entropy 2 now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the same. They just are a lot
Checking
easier
chat.
to build. Like the new Vinicursal, way easier to build.
Entropy 2 on the right, entropy expander right above it.
Okay, let's see. How do I reset SH? What is it? SHTH? Something like that?
There are many.
Sorry, I can't have this
suggestions.
screen and the chat screen open at the same time, so I have to like go back and forth. So let's add that. Obviously, I don't need all of these, but it'll be easier later. Expert Sleepers Alpha. I do not buy the black panels. I think they are just FR4. I don't know what FR4
What is that?
means.
That's PCB material.
Oh, yeah. I have no problems with the
Damn.
PCB material.
Yeah, I think the days of that being an issue have like long gone.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
loads of people use FR4.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see if you're like some of you are working pretty close to your modular and sitting down, like you have good light on them, you'll see the differences in levels or thicknesses between aluminum and the PCBs, but I don't think
Yeah,
that
but there's
matters
so
too
much other
much.
stuff going on as well.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not a
Yeah.
big enough deal.
no, I mean, if you got various different vendors, I mean, their black is not going to be the same black,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of other stuff going on.
Oh yeah, none of the blacks on either of my cases, like when they're next to each other, are the same, but you can't tell over a camera, so I don't care.
Mm-hmm. You can't make me care about this.
Like, yeah. All right, I think let's talk about something else. What else? What else is on the agenda? Let's see here. Uh,
We
am
can,
I
we can
still
talk
yeah.
about recent patches. I know uh, a lot of the people here have done recent patches on live stream that have been really good.
Yeah, let's do reverse chronological. I think. Well, let's see. Ising, were you the most recent? I saw you patching
Yeah,
Yeah,
yesterday.
I
yesterday,
streamed
right?
yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your patch. Like, what was going on that you were enjoying? What didn't you like? What could be better? You know, those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I've been testing out some stuff recently around percussion, mostly because I got the Robo LL8 a while ago, and I did not particularly like entering any sequences in that at all. So I kind of went back on the drawing board, installed marbles in the case, because it has some pre-programmed drum patterns in it. You have like 3 outputs. One of them is supposed to be the kick drum, and one of them is supposed to be the snare, and then there's a middle one. I'm gonna zoom my camera if I can. It's probably not gonna improve anything, but
Double zoom.
double zoom. Yeah,
Double zoom all the way.
that didn't help
Yeah.
much. But I mean, well, maybe let's get one thing out of the way first. The reason I have so many damn patch cables is that I've sort of made it a little bit more complicated as opposed to do on the CV side, because I have 2 precision adders going on at the same time right now. I have the 2 ones from noise engineering, so I basically go from the sequencer into this one over here, which is the regular precision adder, and then I have the octave switch above it. So I basically have 1 patch cable to the first, and then to the next one times 4, right? So, so that's...
Can you even like reach under those cables? Like, it looks so thick from here. It's like a
super direct.
mess.
It looks super thick, but I have Velcro on most of it, so it's actually routed so I can access everything I need to access.
Okay.
Like, I have the whole sequencer free here. The next sequence is completely free, and all the oscillators are free. It's a bit of a problem right now here, but that's because I've been experimenting with a couple of things earlier today. So usually I would clean this up with longer cables that I would be throwing out to the sides like this.
Yep.
It's not that bad. The FX sends are completely accessible here.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mess here, but usually, I mean, I'm using pretty much all the cables I have. It doesn't matter how many cables I buy, I end up using all of them, and I don't even have most of the mod outputs on the black sequencer in use at all. So, I mean, there'll be at least 4 more cables there.
You know, if you have some long cables that are just too long, if you just cut them in half, you got.
Yeah.
You got 2 cables.
And another thing I've been experimenting with, because I mean, some of the, for example, the Pico drum modules I have over here, they have 2 trigger inputs, and maybe I want to mute just one of the triggers. So what I've done is I've basically just patched it through the VCA, so I can just turn the knob down, and then I've basically muted the trigger, so I can mute one
Oh, interesting.
drum source at a time.
How sensitive are the triggers? Like, do you have to turn the VCA all the way down, or is there like? 50% or?
It's basically just very, very little. It's
Oh, perfect.
yeah, yeah. They're very
VCA is
simple.
once again useful in every situation.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Always.
I got the VC8 as my first VCA model. It has 8 VCAs, and I thought that's gonna be overkill. And a lot of the patches I don't use it that much, but once in a while like this, I'm using every single channel of this. Yeah.
I
is
have a
there would
universal
if
and I regularly run out of VCS.
would you rather have more VCAs or like attenuverters? Like if you had to choose between a attenuverter or a VCA module, what would you rather get?
That's a
Or
tough sell. I
attenuator
mean,
even?
I have 8 attenuverters here as
Okay.
well, just next to the Oct,
Okay.
which is extremely handy. But I generally use more VCAs than I use attenuverters
Okay.
because a lot of my oscillators have attenuverters on them, so it's only a few that have nothing. Um, yeah, so I guess I could do with fewer attenuverters than VCAs for sure.
Yeah.
No, but one of the thing I've been really enjoying lately is, of course, Moscow, which I've been preaching quite a lot lately. So let me just turn everything else off.
How did you use it in your last patch? Because there was a lot going on in your last patch. I'm curious how
Moscow and
Mos Moskwa Moskwa. How do you say it?
Moscow.
Oh, oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I've basically found works really well is Moscow controlling rings, and then Moscow set up basically as a triad or an arpeggiator. So I can basically do, and it sounds really really nice.
That's so good.
And the thing is that it has two inputs on the expander, which I overuse quite a lot. And one of them is the transpose input. So let me just fire that up manually. Um, I'm just using stages to send CV.
And it transposes like musically, like it keeps it
It
in the right
it does
quality.
it does, yeah. So I can do things like
Oh,
this.
hmm oh, that's so beautiful.
That's cool.
See, for those that aren't like super music nerd about it, um, basically imagine you have a C major arpeggio, right? And it's a C, an E, and a G. That's going to be a C major chord or a C major arp. But if you were to transpose it up one note, it would become, if you were in the key of C, it would become a D, an F, and an A, which would be a D minor chord. So when you transpose it, if you're doing it musically, it should go from a C major to a D minor. That's what's awesome about Moskwa. Now you can transpose what's called parallel, where you go from C major to D major, and that creates this very electronic kind of artificial music sound that's very common in electronic music. But hearing Moskwa do it musically is such a beautiful thing. I've only ever seen that in a couple other sequencers. I know Bloom does it, and I know the Inspirio quantizer does it as well.
Mm. Yeah, it actually it doesn't transpose the root of the chord. It transposes it sort of in key,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of weird, but it's sort of a chord inversion basically.
Oh,
So yeah, it
That's
stays
cool.
in tune, and I use the precision error that to then change the root note to go up if I want to. So yeah, it just
glorious.
sounds so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference that you're describing, Robbie, is like, is I've transposed with different sequencers, and like some of them are a little more literal, like they're going up a specific amount of steps, and it doesn't always sound good. Like that's the way to put it. Like there's some dissonance there, or some unexpected chord changes that happen when you transpose that way. Whereas this sort of smooths that out, just makes everything
Yeah,
pleasant. It's great.
yeah, and it just sounds really well if you have a lot of reverb on it, like I do.
And I was gonna say you could malt that. Well, never mind. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole there.
No, no.
That's a whole
What
nother.
I basically ended up with was I had a baseline running on the black sequencer, and I was because there's trigger outs on the Moscow. So every time that the sequence goes a whole rotation around, I set a trigger out. I feed that to a clock divider. So every second or every fourth, I take a sample of and hold of the baseline and transpose the sequence up or down. So my Moskva basically just follows the baseline that's going around. That sounds really nice.
It also makes it really quick to compose, because when you're creating the sequence, it kind of, you really have to create it one time, and the rack adjusts correctly.
Exactly.
That's cool.
It's brilliant.
So I've been we had a conversation a while ago about sort of performance controllers and things like that. And I've been wanting to try to hook a joystick to the Moskva, because you have this transpose as one axis, and you also have a range thing. So let me just demonstrate that.
So limiting the range and expanding the range is what just happened.
Exactly.
Right. Of notes, of pitches.
Exactly. So if I could get the range and the transposition into a joystick, and maybe also the speed somehow, because you can also control the speed of the clock divider in Moskva, you could have some really nice sort of performance melody generating tool that you can just toy around with when you perform. And I think that could actually work pretty well.
I agree. I mean, you're going to need a joystick that definitely doesn't have any spring action. Like, it needs to be pretty stable.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
like friction.
But it could also be like a couple of light strips or things like that. Then you could sort of program a motion in.
Yeah, I've seen more and more on modules like using light as a modulation source or an attenuator or things, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it's cool, but
it is pretty cool. Yeah,
it's sort of hard to use, I think.
Yeah, Myler Melody uses this quite a lot with his stuff, right? To sort of pre-program filter movements and stuff like that. That works pretty well. Or it's a pretty cool concept.
And you were also using the a module I hadn't heard of until you'd mentioned it when you were playing, was the Polycinematic.
Oh yes,
right?
Oh yes. Yeah.
And that's relatively new, I think.
It is quite new. I got it in a pre-order, and it's been sort of sold out most of the time. It's basically a polyphonic synthesizer in a module. It has everything. It has reverb, it has MIDI in, it has filter.
Right,
everything.
So how does it, I mean, with the MIDI in, it's sort of straightforward. Like, if you've got a MIDI keyboard or a sequencer, right, you can play probably any number of notes. Is it digital?
It is.
Okay, so you could probably do a fair amount of notes at once if you really want it. But how does it work from CV? Like, is it like creating chords for you in inversions, or?
No, it's kind of strange. Basically, if you don't do anything, it will just, with the triggers, play the last chord you played with MIDI.
Okay.
But you can save 8 chords by holding a CV value, playing a chord, then holding another CV value, then playing a chord, and it sort of saves that.
Oh, so you're actually in like a hellscape where you have to do both CV and MIDI.
Hellscape!
You can do sort of both, right? Yeah, I mean, it's why I brought the Hermod up again, because the Hermod sequencer can store MIDI chords and polyphonic things. Play that back. The last patch, I basically just played a chord on the keyboard, and then I took out the MIDI and plugged CV into it and had a thing going on with that. Let's see.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Ooh, love that.
Filters.
Yeah, the filters are really nice on it. It has this sort of almost 80s kind of filter sweep thing going on. Really nice.
It gets really thin, but it works really well. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I need more filters. Maybe I should just swap out everything for filters.
Filters!
Filters only case.
I mean,
no sequencers either.
It sounds really nice, this module. I'm kind of on the fence whether it's actually worth having in the case compared to like having any hardware synthesizer next to your case that does polyphonic stuff and just plugging it in instead, because you're basically going to need MIDI to get the full value out of it. Otherwise, you might as well just use any dedicated chord oscillator. There's a lot of chord oscillators out there. Like Platts has a chords mode. There's a
Yeah.
qubit chord thing, and they're like
Right. You could get an
Yeah.
actual 80s synthesizer with the 80s filter in it and use MIDI.
exactly. Or a microfreak would do it
Mm.
nicely as well.
Highly recommend the Micro Freak. I think it costs the same as like a chords module, so
It does, yeah. And I have a microfreak. I just don't have.
yeah. So that, I
could
mean, I
plug it
guess
in.
that's what I was wondering. Like polyphony is hard, right? Like I've actually set up the Cosmo modular behind me to let's make everybody the same size now. To do polyphony, like I can change my MIDI to CV module to, instead of being individual channels, be polyphonic synth, right? Like it's pretty cool. And I've done a 4-voice polyphonic synth out of this, and it's just a crap ton of cables. I don't know if it's worth it compared to like, the Micro Freak. Like it's fun.
I mean,
it's fun to play with, but
I don't think hardware polyphonic stuff actually makes that much sense unless you want to have those limitations.
yeah.
And want to play around with the strengths of it as well. I mean, Doper, for example, did the whole polyphonic setup with everything was like quad modules. You had a quad oscillator thing, you had a quad filter thing, and a quad VCA thing.
Yeah.
I watched a video about that where they were showing them patching every single thing, and I was like, somebody should invent a cable that has more than one channel in it. And then I realized I accidentally invented MIDI.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean that's where MIDI shines, is anything.
Yeah, but I mean it makes sense if you have some sort of weird idea where like the second oscillator in your chord has to have a different characteristics like than the first one, and you want to control it in that way.
Like, yeah, I guess you could do the timbre of every, but you could just do that then.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
and that's not much different than like 4 voices, right? But the fun part of it was because I could change the mode in the MIDI to CV module from one where every note is like in sequence. So like if I hit like C, D, E, like if I hit 3 notes on the keyboard over and over again, it'll cycle through all of my voices, versus one where a different mode where the last voice only happens if you hit that many notes at the same time. So it starts with the first voice all the time. So you can do really fun timbral things with that. Like if we had like our, like what was that one guy's name? The Mad Max screen writer, not the screenwriter, the guy who did the score for it, had this huge, Junkie XL has this huge wall. Like if you have a huge wall of synths and you can afford to make your own polyphonic synth out of modular, like cool, but if you're limited on space, I'm just like...
Yeah, it's going to be a management problem in the end, right? Managing all the cables, managing everything. And I mean, this Polycinematic claims to have 56 oscillators in software, of course, but 56 oscillators. And I mean, yeah, you can do that in hardware as well, but something is going to go wrong at some point. 17 out of your 56 oscillators are going to be accidental out of tune, and then you're going to be stuck with that problem, right?
I'm just trying to think of a situation outside of like black MIDI where
Like
that
where
many
you would
oscillators
use
sound
that?
good.
Yeah.
Like you could lean on your entire keyboard. Like I don't have that many keys on this keyboard, and
I know.
it wouldn't use up all the oscillators. That's
I
cool.
I approached it from a different angle. I made a decision that, generally speaking, I don't want to compose music that relies on chords as a core component with my modular synth. So it becomes kind of a non-issue at that point.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I
like
get
when I
that.
want chords, I do like the Micro Freak. Like you heard earlier, it was like, like organ chords. Like
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, there's some really good solutions for chords in Eurorack that doesn't include various types of extreme oscillator combinations.
yeah,
The
multiple
intro thing
oscillators.
looks really
yeah.
interesting, for example, with the chord quantizer and an oscillator with 4 1 per octave inputs. Sounds like a good compromise because you can also use it as a monophonic oscillator and not feel like you've lost anything. I feel that whenever I do anything monophonic on the Polycinematic, I'm kind of not using it right.
Yeah, it seems like a
Uh,
waste of
Yeah, exactly.
55 more oscillators.
Like
Exactly.
you get an oscillator with more character, probably then.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
And it's not an oscillator; it's a voice. It's an instrument. It's basically just a microfreak-ish instrument in a Eurorack format, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's like.
And I mean, one of the cool thing about having all that many voices is that when I do a longer patch, I can have a sequence going into it that plays a lot of chords, and I can still hook a MIDI keyboard into it and play something on top of that without
Mm.
stealing any voices or anything like that. I can just jam around over the chords that are already playing, and I
Yeah.
think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rad. Yeah, we
Kyle,
haven't touched on.
I was going to ask Kyle, did you have something to show and tell? It looked like you got something that was cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
my laptop charger. That's
Oh,
all. No, not exactly.
It's cool. It's kind of cool. It's
What kind of
cool.
laptop charger is it? How would you rate it to your last laptop
it's
charger?
It's the new MacBook one. It's this
Oh
one.
yeah.
MagSafe's back. Hooray.
All right, new MagSafe. I actually have a
I'm so
Thunderbolt to
excited about the new
MagSafe to MagSafe 2 adapter that I have to use currently. That I think if I got the new MacBook Pro would need a third adapter.
Oh,
It's a lot of magnets.
Yeah,
Anyway,
silly.
I got a rip-off MagSafe, like a not an Apple MagSafe that you attach to your USB-C. It's so terrible.
oh yeah, those are bad.
Very bad.
All of the like MagSafe to MagSafe 2 adapters or whatever I have for my Thunderbolt display like get super hot. Anyway,
Anyway, we were
way
talking about
way
this
off.
patch.
Yeah, Robbie had a sick patch on, was it Friday?
Yeah, you
probably.
did.
I don't know. I was working and I was in the zone and you were crushing it. And you also had this
patch
like,
It's so good.
yeah, the underwater ARP. Tell me about the underwater ARP.
Oh yeah.
I'm really happy with that. I was playing around with the Black Sequencer arpeggiator, and I discovered that if you increase the number of re-triggers, the number of repeats on the ARP, it changes it from 2 notes to 3 notes to 4 notes to 5 notes or however many you want.
Right.
So by doing that, I could kind of, it almost makes the chord sound like it's getting inverted because it moves up the keyboard kind of.
That's
And
cool.
it was really fun. That was the coolest part in my opinion. I was like, I want to make this ARP thing work, and it totally did. I was very happy. I don't know what else to say. It was Bacillus Ateritas Alter actually doing that ARP, if you can believe it. It was BIA.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Those
Plus a
ARPs
little
were
bit
magical.
of filtering.
Yeah, I was going through the Electus Versio Ottawa from Hell.
Oh, so it was auto. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it gave it kind of a chorus, and it gave it a little bit of a drive, and it kind of gave it a crunchiness. It was a lot of fun to process that.
Should I get 2 Versio modules?
I think you should, because you're going to want Desmodus Versio because it's the best
Yeah.
damn reverb of them all, and then
Yeah.
you're going to want to play with a second one.
Okay, cool. Heck yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what else to say about my patch, although it was only one sequence, which is really cool. One scene, one sequence. But I copied it into a couple places and then changed the length so that I could easily loop different sections. So like if I went to this pattern, it only looped the last 4 measures of it or whatever.
Is that something that's easy to do while the sequence is running? Like you could copy a pattern, switch over to it and change the length or something like that?
You can do it, but you'd probably want to. You can do all that live, but you're probably going to want to preset it.
Okay.
Um,
Because that is the kind of thing I do on the pyramid quite often live. Like you'll, like if you take a melody, for example, or bass line is really good. Like if you have a bass that's just like, hold on a second, maybe this one. Yeah. Right, like I might take something like that, change the length, or like drop it onto a different voice and throw it through an arpeggiator, right? Like, and all of a sudden you have a completely different feel. So, yeah, I don't know.
You can do it. It's hard to you can only really edit the sequence that's currently playing. You can't edit a sequence that isn't loaded, I should say. So
Right, and
like,
that's the same here. And
oh,
there's
okay.
ways sort of around that I figured, but like if I'm editing a drum sequence, like I might have two channels going to the same thing, right? And I leave one running while I'm setting the other one up muted,
Ah.
that kind of stuff. And the same thing goes for leads and bass and all that. So that's one way around it. But you're
Yeah,
limited by the number of devices or channels or whatever the sequencer can support, and I don't know yet what
so
that will
yeah,
be. So
other than so to wrap up, other than that ARP, which is a main feature, my
yeah,
patch had the bass line consisted of two voices, which is really cool. One that was a really low end, at the low end, and the one that gave it kind of a higher end. So with two oscillators, I can get a better sound. And then there
was
was a
it
melody that had a lot of glide. That's makes a pretty melody if you slide between notes.
was the bass line two different sequences or one sequence going through like two like voice chains?
It was one sequence going through two different voices. I just multed it to two different oscillators.
Perfect, cool. Yeah, that I think sounds really good when you do that, um, especially if you got an octave difference and some different timbres and stuff like that. Yeah, I do that with my bass line. So yeah, good job. We agree on
Thank,
things.
thank you.
But mine are all programmed in MIDI. Um, yeah. Forest Dinge.
Hello. Forest
Tinge of
Dinge, the
Forest
typo
Dinge.
that lived in infamy.
You asked if we're still agonizing over sequencers, and I think the
Oh,
answer is yes.
yes, I am. Uh, I also patched on Friday.
Oh yeah, you
Did you
did.
miss it?
Uh, I might have.
I might draw the time zone cards probably when I was sleeping or something like
Yeah.
that.
I have posted links to the three things we talked about. They are there.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah, I designed like 70 plus icons on Friday, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I patched
Um,
after Robbie did. I did a depatch and then repatch thing, and I was trying to see if I could sequence all my things with my less than ideal sequencer situation, and I think it was cool. Uh, I can't remember anything about it.
What is your current sequencer situation? What are you using
Okay,
to
so
sequence voltages?
my main sequence. So, well, I'm using like the ARPAN sequencer on the grandmother, so that's separate. That doesn't count. Um, my main sequencer right now is the Mosaic quantizer that I'm using as an arpeggiator. But when you turn it
Cool.
on, it resets everything, including setting the slew all the way back up. You can't
oh
actually
no,
save the settings. It's just really fucking annoying. I hate it. I really like just like going doot doot doot, and then it's there, but like it's stupid.
doesn't
Um,
save. Yeah.
there's some less than ideal design choices going on in there, and then SQ1. That's it, and it doesn't save anything either. But also, it doesn't stay in tune if I turn it off. Also, less than ideal.
Oh,
Wait, the
Like
SQ1 doesn't save
right?
anything? I thought the potentiometers would
the
retain their position.
potentiometers retain their position, but when I turn it back on, the notes are different
Oh.
because like they're just slightly. And I have two SQ1s now because my friend was moving away and gave me theirs, and they both do that. So that's a feature, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
So
I did, out of curiosity, I looked up the SQ64.
yeah,
Again, like I was pretty hyped about it when it came out. Like if that was out when I got my Beat Step Pro a while ago, I probably got that instead. But like, I don't think it's that good. like
I found like okay, so I watched some demos on it. I was like, I want to like this, and like it does not seem like it acts like the SQ1 at all. And
no.
I'm like, why did you even make it sound like it was related to that?
I would say I liked its note sequencing better than the beat step. Like the beat step, the thing I don't like if you're doing like leads and stuff is you turn all the little knobs and stuff. Really a pain in the butt. Versus like on the SQ64, you sort of get like the faux piano keys kind of thing where you can go up and down octaves and like push a thing and press a key, that kind of stuff, which is slightly better. more like a circuit or something. But like overall, I didn't think it was that performative. Like,
Yeah, it didn't seem very fun. But
yeah.
yeah, like Tim said my patch was cool, so therefore there was something happening there, and I cannot remember anything now.
Can I like? How do I?
Somebody
do
who
you
watched it
watch this
asked
on
me a
the video?
question, and then I'll remember.
Can let's see if we can watch it. Let me try opening it and
I remember the DFAM just being incredibly aggressive.
Oh yeah. It's really hard not to just make it do that every time.
Yeah, it was just like a punch right in the face every time it hit.
okay, I'm gonna try sharing a screen. I have no idea if the audio will also share. Let's see.
Yes.
working.
Yep.
Yes.
Whoa.
This is the patch I was depatching, so
All right, let's skip.
skip to
time
about
jump.
like near the end, maybe. Like the there.
I love those sounds that like I don't know. They remind me of like whip sounds because they're sort of like a whipping like whoosh.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So you have the grandmother
Lasers.
doing an ARP with like a really long attack.
If I adjust the volume, did that adjust it for you too?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Alright,
I did not see this patch. I think I just went outside at this point in the day, shoveled snow, which I regret because this is cool.
Oh, that thing, that's the fragments out of the primary oscillator, which is kind of like an analog big freshy deal, going into Yukari, and then it's kind of moving up and down, so it's kind of getting grimy in different ways as it's seeking. I think that's my favorite one.
And
cool.
actually, about 10 or if you go it maybe backwards about 20 minutes, so there's like actually a good groove that came out. It was actually clever.
There were some speed changes.
Yeah. So you can bob your head to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I regret adding delay to that because it made it really quiet, that boppy thing. That's the interstellar radio, 2 oscillators FMing in a clanging way.
Here's a question: is Benjamin ever going to get that drummer from another mother back?
He finally told me how long I can have it for, which he never really said. He said a year or 2. And I'm like, it's going to be 2.
Yeah, it's a rad machine. I'm stoked that you're grooving with it.
I love that thing. It makes drums so much less arduous. Now I would like sequences to be much less arduous.
Yeah, sequencer is the. I just want special effects on my sequencer, right? Like I'm not talking about like reverb or chorus or those kind of effects. I want to be able to like drop like hit a button, right? Like hold down a button and get an arpeggiator. Actually, like the the Soft Pop 2 is a great example of a device that built in a bunch of like sequencing effects. Like you can change the envelopes really quickly. You can change the length of the gates, right? Like you can do all sorts of stuff. And like the OPZ, like that's its attraction to me is all these performative things. I want a sequencer that just like does these cool MIDI effects essentially, or sequencing effects rather.
Yeah, I guess you have a lot of that in the pyramid, right?
Some of it, yeah. It's got some of that. Like typically, let's see. I don't remember all the things in there. Typically, I go for the ARP, pretty often. There's also some like weird stuff like MIDI equalizer, MIDI delay.
Yeah, because Squarp made the Hermod, and which is basically the Eurorack version of the pyramid in many ways, and I mean it has a big problem with how you enter sequences into it because you basically have to record them, otherwise it's gonna be a nightmare to enter things into it. But it has a lot of the same effects.
Yeah, and like I mean, the effects just like add a lot of flavor. Like the pocket operators are so popular because they're limited sequencers, right? Like 16 steps, but there's a lot of cool things you can do with that sequence while you're playing with it. And the same thing goes for this like great remote control brick that we're both flashing around. I'm actually sort of hoping the soft pop replaces this, but we'll see.
I only have this thing.
I also love this stinky yellow case I got for it, but whatever. Anyway, like that's the thing that I'm looking for a lot of the time in sequencers. Like the Metron has some effects, like there's like beat repeats and stuff like that. But I don't know, it's all very limited. I don't know. I'd love to see more stuff. Actually, what's that one module with the big arcade buttons? That the Performer, right? The Performer is really great for that kind of instant change to your
I
track.
think is that not an audio effect?
I think
an
it is
audio
all audio effects,
Yeah.
It
though.
is audio. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a sequencer, I can't remember what it's called now. It's not Eurorack, but it's called like an algorithmic sequencer.
Mhm.
And you can't punch in what notes you want. You set like length and lots of random chance stuff, and it just sends out MIDI to do.
Is that the sequencer? I saw a video pop up with Ben,
Can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing. I saw
Ben
that
whatever music.
earlier
like-
today as well.
yeah.
By Jordan from the Flashbulb.
Yeah, is that the sequencer he's using in that
Oh.
video? I haven't seen the video yet.
It could be, yeah.
It's like sequencing using algorithms, which I was like, nah. But if it's the sequencer itself, maybe so. I'll check it out.
Torso
I-
Electronics.
For me, it looked really
T1.
cool, and
It-
it had CV outputs, which was
What was that, Kyle? What's it from?
It's the Torso Electronics T1.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's
that was
called
the
a
one.
torso, which is really funny. I don't know anything else about it except
All
it's
right.
called a torso.
Let's pull this up on. Oh my gosh! Even if I share my screen, it's not like all that particularly useful because it's yeah, here, share. I hate when I hit share on this and it doesn't immediately share the screen. I have to go back to anyway. This thing. So yeah, that is what it was in the video thumbnail. Let's see if we can get a high res.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that. It's MIDI only, right?
No, it has CVs.
Oh, never mind. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
It looks well built. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, here we go.
Actually,
So
the
you
cool thing
got-
about the CVs was that it had, per default, it was two CVs and 4 triggers, but all of them could be triggers or all of them could be CVs if you wanted to. By software.
Shoot, how much is this
Yeah,
thing?
that's
This is cool.
Oh yeah, I
And-
remember the Noodler. I'm sorry, Metatron mentioned Noodler. That was
Yeah, the
interesting
Noodler.
item
Yeah, I
too.
remember seeing that. Somebody had that in Earth Modular. I just don't remember who. It's got a through. Every MIDI, every device that doesn't have a through, I'm sad about, but that's cool.
True.
Yeah, this looks really rad. If not a little pricey, but it's like full sequencer.
How much does that thing cost?
Well, I don't know. This is just the random site I clicked on. Oh, it's actually their site. It's 525 euros. It may change depending on your location. Like if you're,
That's
Yeah, I
what
don't
most things cost these days, isn't it?
yeah. And it's, I don't think that's outrageous for a sequencer, especially something like this that's not made by like an Arturia or somebody that has, or even Behringer or somebody that has huge manufacturing capabilities. Like it looks like you can do some quick like shift functions to change your scale type, so major, minor, chromatic, pentatonic, sick for your guitar riffs.
I think if you're heavier on the MIDI side of things, that might be more interesting.
Yeah, this
It's
looks
just
really interesting.
tie
I'll have to
weird
watch
pieces
this. This looks really fun. Yeah, and at that cost, I sort of expect it to be aluminium, which means I could drill some holes and like bolt it to something. And it's USB, which means it's 5 volts. So if I have a 5 volt converter, I could easily power it via Eurorack. Anyway, I'm already talking about how to mangle this thing. I like it. It's cool.
You don't even own it yet, and you're already talking about that.
Time to
Right.
mangle.
Yeah. What was that, Forstine?
I said time to mangle.
Yeah, like that's, I mean, if you have a Eurorack, right? Like, why not have your sequencer like in in the thing. In my case, I have Cosmo, so I could probably pull off 2 panels and it would fit. Yeah, so.
Hey, so we're over time, but I wanted to ask Kyle if you had anything to say about your New Year's patch.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
Yeah.
progression that went on in that.
I'll go find it.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, squid sample mostly, I think.
Oh, okay.
Is that right? The shared system was doing some bloopy stuff
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
with the Echoverb and Airverb and Echophone, and then my MIDI drum pad thing into FH1 into Squid Sample,
Uh-huh.
and I also had a little sequencer, I think, doing the kick drum. Is that right? I can't remember. I think that's what was going on with that one.
I wanted to ask about your samples. Were they
Yeah.
drum loops or were they individual drum sounds?
They're individual sounds. They're just stock Squid Sample samples.
That's great. It sounded awesome.
Yeah, there was a good range. That was that, like, I want to say, like, down tempo, lo-fi vibe track or something.
Oh,
if I
is I
misremember.
doing?
No, there was kind of like a
Can you play it for us?
Urbano
Yeah.
kind of.
Oh yeah, we've got the link right here. Hold on.
I found it. Yes.
I actually can't just click it, copy, paste, different screen.
It was like as soon as I heard my own patch, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I did.
Yeah.
Theater mode.
I tend to not work on patches for very long. Like, it'll be like,
Yeah,
I
this
want
is
to
what I was
stream in an
picturing.
hour and then just like put some stuff together and just do it.
Yeah, is that like shaker?
Yeah.
All right, that's the really groovy set you did.
Yeah, I don't know. Heck, it's not doing the full screen thing. If that's what
It's
you
not
wanted
doing
to
the
do,
thing.
it's not sharing the video.
Oh yeah, hold on. Jeez, I gotta remember to turn this thing on. It's really
Right.
janky.
Yeah.
What am I
Yeah,
doing?
this is when I wished I was at a 70s cocktail party.
Oh no. Okay. Right. So I also have machine running this one.
Uh-huh.
So yes.
Down
So
here.
I got my machine microphone back from like 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it is. That's got just stuff looping in it that I can mute and unmute.
Oh yeah, what were the
Um,
super wet sounds?
I think that's just Airverb. Echophone. Airverb's a really wet sounding reverb. The make noise one.
Version!
I've got there's a DST called The Finger by Tim Exile. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's just loads of effects put out on a keyboard. So you run your audio through that, you just like mash the keyboard and it kills your, like, completely crumples your sound up, and then you can change to a different rhythm. It's like a really easy transition thing.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
I think it's a double bass sample and then some like organy chords. Yeah, I wanted something that wasn't very difficult to play because I was a bit drunk at this point. I knew I was doing
It's
like,
also-
Oh yeah,
it-
yeah, but this like live playing, it was so good. It was perfect.
It has this sleazy nightclub sound. I mean,
Yes!
wonderful.
What was your Renee sequencing? That was, I think Tim asked that at some point when we were watching.
I think that's just right. What is the sequencing? It's probably doing Renee into DPO and the Optimix into the effects. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, again, I don't plan an awful lot.
And how are you flying the spaceship around in circles?
That's no, what is that? That's a video I made in Premiere.
Oh, you made a video of it and then just plopped that in.
It's got a green background. You can just take the green away in OBS.
That's so rad.
I did a similar thing. I don't know if anyone saw my like snow sequencer patch.
Yeah, the snow is good.
That's the same thing. So the snow has a green background that you just get rid of. And that's that's my favorite sequencer because it's not a sequencer. It's just random, but
Yeah.
because it's got some visuals attached to it, it looks like a sequencer. Does that make sense? Like, if you get rid of the visuals, it's just random noise. But if you add the visuals, it makes sense to the person watching it. And
That's
then
cool.
you can set the number of like raindrops or snowdrops. So like 15 sounds nice and ambient, and then 2000 just turns it into audio rate like mess. And that the sound for that is just testing EX multi-sample the piano one into clouds and then out easy.
Nice.
Just use clouds, or U-burst. Sorry, it's not clouds. I do have a cloud somewhere, but
I should
micro
add.
clouds.
Yeah, I need to add some.
I just call them all clouds. It's just
They are,
easier.
yeah. There's so many different versions.
And then if somebody wants to know which one, they can ask.
Yeah. If you say monsoon, people are going to look at you weird. But if you say clouds, they go, "Oh, okay, I know what it is."
Yeah, everybody knows what that is.
Right.
In our tiny niche.
Except me.
I always
I did my
regret it
first
when I
stream
take it out of
for-
my case. It's really nice. Do so
I did
much
my
nice
first stream
stuff.
for work as well on Thursday.
I remember that one.
That was a
So
good
one.
stream.
So it's not on EMS, but I'm working on maybe looking at some stream bouncing thing so I can just have it play everywhere. And that was fun. The setup needs some work because I'm going into a massive mixer and then just the audio's coming out my laptop speakers, which is not enough to really hear what's going on. And having like 5 synths and a Eurorack and one set of hands is not. It's like you can't you can't do it. So I need to invite some friends to that next time.
Party at Signal Sound. Here we go.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And we got a beer fridge.
Oh wow!
I mean,
You're a
gotta
real
be there as
synth
soon as
shop.
possible.
Yeah, it's like a proper shop now.
I got a beer fridge too.
I'm gonna do another one of those on Thursday. Same kind of time, so
Looking forward to it.
yeah. Post that.
Beer fridge.
Hey.
Also, probably why the power. Anyway. You know you're doing good when you run out of power, and your really old surge protector explodes.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen. That's not right.
Should
Yeah, that's a
generally
new
not
one.
explode now.
I mean, this thing's operating fine. I just think the initial
Yeah, that's
surge
good.
of power was too much. I don't know.
Are you using Meanwhile power bricks in that?
No, this one is actually all proper Trogotronic
Oh, okay.
bricks, but this in front of me, this one here, and probably this one, I will replace their power supplies with the Meanwells. I'm going to build it in a third case first because I already have the case built, just to test out the Meanwell, noise, like all that stuff. But these, I think, are seriously underpowered to the point where, like, the main reason I pulled some of the modules out of here was I was getting some sag in my oscillators, and it drives me crazy. So, not enough power. But moving to a different room eventually, which means more outlets and probably a different
Fewer washing
fuse.
machines.
Yeah,
Move to a room with fewer washing machines.
yeah. Fewer washing machines. There won't be a boiler, or not a boiler, a water heater and a furnace right behind my synth.
I'm gonna miss that pipe.
I know. I might just like. I have a bunch of extra PVC in the shed that I could, like, of that size that I could put on top.
You should sample the noise of your heater and just have it playing all around the time when you're doing the show.
There are hours of samples of my heater. Every time we're talking, my heater is like coming through the mic. Yeah. And yeah, the oscillator sag was problematic because it was my one of my bass oscillators, and that was the only notable issue, but frustrating. So I'm going to try it the Meanwell setup. I think I have a good idea of what I need to do without dying. Should be fast.
Yeah. It scares me slightly when I see people on Facebook asking, how do I wire up this mains powered thing?
No, do
And I'm
I
like,
mean,
not.
that's those are the questions I was asking, right? Like, and it's like, yeah, everyone that I was asking that to was like, if you have to ask that question, you're gonna die. Like, don't do it. I'm like, yeah, but like, no, hold on. The best resource I can find is like some dude who's like photoshopped together a circuit.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah, I want to double check a little bit before building this. Like, I know
that-
it's not particularly difficult, but there are some gotchas.
Yeah, it's actually this thing is actually not hard. Like, if you can wire a plug,
Yeah.
then you can wire a mean well thing.
Right, and like you wire it up in a, like I'm very familiar with, like the order of wiring things up. Like I'll probably do the whole thing. When I'm ready to go, I'll plug it in with something that's switched and stand back.
Yeah.
And then while it's plugged in, I'll start doing some like multimeter checks and things like that. Like it'll be fine. And where the mains are touching the power supply will be covered, so that I'm not gonna like lean in or drop a patch cable on it or whatever the fuck. It's gonna be out of touching range, so it should be fine.
Good. Yes, good.
Probably hot glue and a shield, and that'll do it. Yeah. Anyway, that's so. I am planning to do that. That's next. I wanted to finish this up. It's actually not done yet, because I'm waiting on way too many square M2.5 nuts to show up, and I can manually spend the afternoon
Make sure you
tweezers.
put one in, and then put a screw in it, so it can't move, and then put the rest in. Because I've loaded them in and then lifted it, and they all slide out.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not taking the
so-
rail off. What I did, mine are actually long enough where I could like pry it up just enough where the lead and the friction would hold it in
okay,
place, so that they couldn't slide out the other end. Because yes, that would be bad.
That's a pain.
And that's actually what I ran into with. I did that with these two rails here. These are my first vector rails.
Why did you pick M2.5 and not M3?
I don't remember. But it's what I have now, and so that's what I'm going with.
That's fine.
Even though every module I get comes with M3 screws,
Big mood. I don't.
I just got to do everything the hard way. I don't know why. I don't remember, to be honest. I feel like I read something about it, and that made a decision for me. But
on the positive side, the M2.5 Nerlies are always going to be more in stock than the M3 ones.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah, I haven't had problems getting Nerlies. I'll probably run
There
out
was a
of them
point where they
eventually,
were sold out all over the place, but the M2.5s were not.
But the M2.5 Nerlies only come in silver, I think, or at least when I was looking, which isn't a huge problem because silver and black look cool, but
It'll still look cool. And also, like, the black isn't really that black, and
oh, is it like that?
they're like more like gunmetal, and they kind of
Yeah.
get worn at the top a little
Yeah.
bit, and they look kind of silver anyway.
All right, we are 30 minutes over, and we're talking about screws. Yeah!
Screws!
Yeah, these I love the tin. But I don't know. I don't really care about I'm not
Now we're
passionate
talking
about
about
M2.5 versus M3 other than
We're
what I'm
talking
stuck
about
with
screw
now.
tins. That's funny.
like they have a really
They're all
nice
showing
tin.
our Nerlies tins.
Yes. Sponsored by
See, it's not
Bafako.
that black on the end?
Oh yeah.
I still
Yeah.
have these. These are the coolest.
Yeah, those are cool.
Oh, the big, yeah, those were cool. I remember we talked
The
about
big
those briefly.
boys! Those are
Yeah,
great.
Those are cool. I saw actually, I think Error also makes some threaded screws for this. M3.
Ritual does. They're really big
Yeah.
and chonky, but they're quite black.
And actually, I don't like the. I'm a little nervous about ones that are any bigger than Nerlies in terms of the size of the screw head, and it's not because of like fitting with modules or anything like that. It's you can put probably too much torque on them if you're not careful. I think. They don't need a lot of torque. They're just
Yeah.
holding a PCB panel in place. Yeah, but they are a huge bump up for my random hardware store wood screws. So
Wood screws and wooden rails.
yes. Which my wooden rails are clearly not grounded. So that, again, I was asking questions about the Meanwell RT65B power supply setup, just to see. But I think I got this. I'll do it on stream anyway, so if things explode, you'll see it. But I don't think I'll get hurt. He says confidently.
I'm gonna have to shoot.
Stupidly.
And get some food.
All right. Take
Yeah, me
care.
too.
Let's end this.
Okay.
Does anyone want to play us out? I can play us out too, but you've heard everything I've got prepared already.
I can press play.
You're always
let's-
ready.
let's-
I should have been
let's
ready.
do it. Yeah, and this is I think the first stream that Ising's got like both audio from his modular and the microphone
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
perfectly.
Play us out.
Heck
out.
yeah. Cinema.
Sounds like Batman.
Yeah, I'm hearing that
Oh, yeah,
bass
I'm
line
hearing
and
some super
picturing
villain music there.
like the Penguin or something. Danny DeVito popped in the
That's-
frame.
One thing that happens to me a lot is I end up making super villain music if I make anything faster than 60 BPM.
Cool.
It always sounds like a cartoon.
All right, everybody.
Cool.
Thanks for watching. What the heck?
Thanks.
And